Whew. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first ever live edition of Gabbin with Oof. I am your host, your friendly neighborhood Oofman. Thank you so much for everybody checking this out live for the first time ever, episode 20 of my Gabbin with Oof series, whether you're watching it live or on demand. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. And so, like you saw in the thing I've been plugging for the past couple days, and as you can see how I'm dressed, we are going to gab about the Michael biopic. Now, when I decided to do this, yes, the glove is on here. I wanted to be decked out in Michael again. I dressed like this when I did my top 10 Michael Jackson songs of all time. Check it out in the video playlist of Gabbin with Oof. I did my episode of top 10 Michael Jackson songs, and then I talked about which this year in September will be 25 years since I attended the concert at Madison Square Garden on September 10th, 2001. Yes, that September 2001, September 10th, actually. And so, long story short, Michael is a major part of my childhood. I think I came out of a womb as a Michael fan. I do believe that. And since day one, I had been a fan of his. And through all his highs and his many lows that we know he's had, I've been there checking it out. But you cannot deny his impact on the world when it came to music, when it comes to entertainment, concerts, and of course, music videos, presentations of his music. And so a couple years ago, when they announced that there was going to be a brand new, well, for the first time ever, a big budgeted Michael biopic, you can bet right now that I was excited for it. Now, how are they going to address the how can we say it? The tricky subject that is Michael himself. Well, as we saw, well, for those that, if anybody saw the movie, they did a pretty good job. Overall, what do I give the movie? I give it 2 big thumbs up. I have been reading what other people have been saying about the movie, and I will address all of that here tonight on what they're saying as far as like, oh, it's this, it's that, it's not this, it's not that. I understand where people are coming from, but you also have to go with the, well, this is why they did that. So, excuse me. So we're live, baby. So overall, the movie was really good. I saw it twice. Of course I did. I saw it Thursday night. I saw it last night and going back on Tuesday because I want to support this movie. I want to make sure there's a sequel. As we go on the night, I'm going to do my best to not give spoilers, but this movie doesn't really have spoilers, so to speak. There's nothing to spoil. I mean, if you know of Michael, if you know a little bit of his story, there's nothing to spoil because we all know from the headlines and from the music and from the videos and all that jazz and social media now, especially nowadays, I think everybody knows of Michael. But if I talk about the movie, again, I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything because, again, this is the Michael story. And as far as like, what would I spoil? There's nothing. There's no surprises. There's no... Was I shocked? Again, as a Michael fan, when I saw the movie, was I shocked with anything I saw? No, not I. It's not that I knew everything that happened in the movie, but I saw the movie at the end, I'm like, all right, they did a good job telling the story. And again, I didn't learn anything new almost because again, I've been a fan of his, been watching him through social media and news articles and all that. I wasn't there personally, but I remember the 90s where everything went to hell for Michael. The first allegations, the second allegations. I was there. I remember everything vividly. So even though the movie is from 1967 to 1988, I kind of knew everything that happened, but now it dove in more. It got a little bit more technical. It featured more about what went through that part of his life. So that's what we'll address. So once again, not going to give, I don't feel like I'm spoiling many details, what we're going to gab about tonight. So yeah, so I guess spoiler warning before we get into it. But again, I don't think I'm spoiling anything because again, it's a story that we all kind of know, we've heard of with the news articles and the media and all that. So let's start. Let's go. Let's gab about it to see about the Michael pick. So, like I said, overall, it was a really, really great job done by everybody. The MVPs of the movie are number one. Well, let's go. Let's do like NHL. Let's do the stars of the game. So number three, again, I know I should have written down notes, but I usually don't have notes for me because that's how I roll. So yeah, so shout out to my good friend Dave Scheffler in the chat. Dave, thank you so much for tuning in. He says Michael was the beginning of the music video craze in the early 80s and MTV days. Yes, he absolutely was. And we'll address that as we go on in the story. So the MVPs of the movie, let's do it. Like I said, 3 stars of like the NHL games. So number 3 was, and again, I don't write anything down because I just do everything off the top of my head. And now we are ultimately live. So ultimately unprepared, ultimately live. So the 3rd star of the movie, I think, is the actor who played his dad, Joseph Jackson. He was intimidating, which I would think that's how Joseph was to his boys growing up, especially for a young Michael, the prodigy of the family. So he did a great job as Joseph Jackson. And ultimately, like I said, really great job. Very intimidating. The intimidating factor that if you've seen the interviews of Michael, from the Oprah one to the Martin, whatever the heck his name was, the dude that totally effed up with Michael in his interview. If you saw that one, Michael got real and he described how it was being with his dad. So the actor portrayed it perfectly. The 2nd star of the movie, the 2nd MVP of the movie is the young boy who played Michael for the Jackson 5. He was phenomenal. Great job on the dance moves of learning everything that Michael was back in those days. He just did great. The intimidation factor when Joseph would intimidate Michael, I was scared for him, and this kid, this young actor, nailed it perfectly. The look, the showmanship on stage, everything. And word is he sang a couple of the songs live himself. I don't know which ones, but again, checking out all the news I needed to know about this movie, he sang a couple of live editions. Again, I don't know which one, so I'm trying to remember now. What would he have sung? Probably when Michael was in, I don't know if he was in the studio recording the songs, but maybe when they were live. There's a scene where they're in they're in a little side stage in a circus, in like not a circus, playground area, a fair, like a county fair, and the Jackson 5 are singing. Maybe that's where he sang. So he did great. So the movie quickly takes on. We see I don't know if it was the formation of the Jackson 5, but we see them come together. We see them when Susan DePaz, the executive from Motown, quote unquote, hires them. Again, now, side note, that didn't happen in real life. They sent an audition tape to Motown, and then they showed up in Motown, performed to Berry Gordy, and then Susan took over, not necessarily as their manager, but their Motown manager, let's call it that. So she got them the costumes. She worked with them in rehearsals. And so the movie changed it a little bit. Again, understandable. We'll get into the tweaks and what people are about the movie. So we only have a couple minutes of the Jackson 5. What we do see in there is the movie from beginning to end focus on Michael's loneliness. We've always heard that Michael was a loner. He did things by himself. He was always alone. We catch that early in the movie. He's by himself. His brothers are doing their things, but there's little Michael. He's always reading books. And yes, again, from interviews, I remember reading that he did enjoy reading books as a young kid and as a young adult and an adult as well. His favorite was The Wizard of Oz, which we see a lot. Of course, Peter Pan is mentioned. And so we see, if anybody's wondering, is the rat in the movie? We sure see him. It's not Ben, but he sings a song about Ben from the movie. But we see his pet in there. We see his interactions with his family. And like I said, the acting was great. If I would throw maybe 4 stars, I'll throw Nia Long in there. She played the mom. She played Katherine Jackson. So I'll put, all right, you know what? 2 stars at number 3 we have. 2 number 3 stars. We have father and mother, Joseph Jackson and Katherine Jackson. Again, I'm sorry, I don't remember the actor's name who played his dad. and Nia Long, who played Katherine Jackson. She was phenomenal. If you've seen interviews with Katherine, and she just embodied her perfectly. And the number one star of the movie is the man, I guess, himself, Michael himself, played by his nephew, Jafar Jackson, son of his oldest brother, Jermaine Jackson. Jafar killed it. So many scenes where, I kid you not, I was watching the movie and I'm staring at the screen and I'm like, that's Michael. They did such a great job either on the makeup or the lighting or the angles of the camera. It was Michael. He appeared more, he really looked like Michael himself when we got into the 80s. So again, like I said, this movie moves quick. We see a couple minutes. There's, if anything, I'm going to say probably tops between 10 to 15 minutes of the Jackson 5. And then boom, we go straight to 77 or 78. Actually 76 now I think about it. Because we are now, he's a young adult Michael Jackson, and he's talking to Quincy Jones. So we have moved that fast. We went from the Jackson 5 straight to now the journey on the way to Off the Wall. Now let's start addressing what people are complaining about. I see a lot of people, not the particular ones complaining, but they're speaking about the complaints that the movie should have addressed historic moments in Michael's life, which they feel they didn't. And one of the two key events was Michael being, they picked him to star in The Wiz, which led to a big moment in his life, which was meeting Quincy Jones, which led us to where the movie picks up, where him and Quincy are talking. Now, to address that and others, I'll just add, oh, by the way, people have been complaining about this. To say something about that, this movie was only 2 hours and 9 minutes long, number one. So in biopics, I wish biopics could tell the entire story, but they can't. So think of all the biopics, the Selena movie. Well, before I say that, unfortunately, sometimes celebrities, when they get biopics made, if unfortunately had a short life, you do see basically their entire life, so to speak. So I mentioned Selena, and really good biopic, but she started off as a young girl in Los Dinos and then became the sensation that we all know and had a tragic end to her life. So I'd say you saw probably like 90% of her entire life in the whatever length her movie was. I don't remember how long it was. Another biopic, really good one, La Bamba. Lou Diamond Phillips was awesome as Richie Valens. Again, unfortunately, I don't even think Richie made it to 19. I think he unfortunately in that plane accident died at 18 or 17 or something like that. Moral of the story, young guy. So the movie portrays him, growing up in high school, becoming the sensation that he did. La Bamba comes out, explodes. So you see his entire life in the 2 hours or whatever the length of the movie is. But then you look at a movie like Ray, you see him as a very, very young kid, a young boy. He loses his sight, and it goes on from there. Great, no problem, fine. And then he becomes an adult, and it becomes everything that you see what you see. Cool. Another biopic, the recent one, Bohemian Rhapsody. You see the rise of Queen and then Freddie Mercury going solo. This one was chopped up left to right by so many haters that, oh, it wasn't like this. I was like, yeah, but again, the movie has a run limit and you can't tell the entire story in 2 hours and 9 minutes. So yes, was The Wiz very impactful in Michael's life? Absolutely. Yes, meeting Quincy Jones was impactful because as we go on, and as you know, like even not even talking about the movie, just real life itself, we all know what happened when Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson united. We had those 3 albums in a row, and the biggest selling album of all time right in the middle. So yes, not in the movie. Understandable that it wasn't in there, but in my personal opinion, no biggie, because like I said, they go from the Jackson 5 straight to young adult Michael Jackson talking to Quincy. The gears are rolling right there to create Off the Wall. And if you saw the trailer, you see Michael in the studio. He's like, "Quiz, can you lower the lights?" And off to the races. We see him creating Off the Wall, and it becomes the smash hit that he is. So, but unfortunately, back in real life, he was still under trap of the claws of his father. And Michael loves he loved his family, and he wanted to do everything for them. And so it leads us to them forming the Victory Tour, which preceded no, the Victory Tour was in the 80s. So there was a tour before with his brothers, and all they did was sing again, basically Off the Wall and the old classics and all that. So we're seeing that. And again, we see the struggles he had with loneliness, and we see the struggles he had with his dad. And his dad we saw it in as the Jackson 5, physically abuse him, and then now verbally through his words abuse him, because Michael he felt like he wanted to do his own thing, and you can't blame him. People want to be their own selves, who they want to dictate their own lives. They want to dictate their own path, their own destiny, so to speak. Cool. But with the force that his father was, Michael just couldn't escape that. And there's a scene where he announces there's a tour. Before the Victory Tour, there was a previous Jackson's tour, and Michael's like, he's not sure, and his dad's like, I tell you what to do, basically, like, you're mine. And Michael doesn't want to do it, but he ends up doing the tour. It's all right, life goes on. But then he's basically had enough. It gets up to here where he needs to become himself and basically roll solo, but he wants to take care of his family as well. So speaking of family, if anybody's wondering, is Bubbles in the movie? He sure is. We see how Michael gets Bubbles. Again, I cannot confirm or deny that's what happened, but from what I'm reading and noticing is no, but we see the introduction of Bubbles. And again, we see the loneliness of Michael, where his friends, which he called was his animals, his pets. Again, sad, but that was the life Michael lived. He was on his own, basically. We see him always visiting kids in the hospital, which is great, giving autographs, giving gifts. So that was the nice side of him, the showing compassion side. He always felt like he wanted to do more. And then we go to it. We go to the creation, again, real fast, the creation of to this day in 2026, the greatest selling album of all time, Thriller. We see him building it together. We really don't see him like creating the album. Again, no time. It's only 2 hours, so the movie goes on. But what's cool is they showed something which, again, I kind of knew. So again, this is no spoiler. So if I'm sure you have, but if anybody's seen the video for Beat It, Michael actually had members of the Bloods and Crips in the Beat It video. So after this video, feel free to go on YouTube, click on Beat It, the Michael Jackson video for Beat It. And when he gets to the factory, you see some guys wearing blue bandanas, some guys wearing red bandanas. Those are the actual gang members of the Bloods and the Crips in Michael's video for Beat It. And when you see the knife fight in the video, that's obviously the dancers. And then Michael comes down the stairs and he creates world peace by dance. And he says that in the movie, he's like, music can bring people together. And so according to the movie, Michael was getting, I guess, Thriller together, and he saw this report of the crimes in Cali between the Bloods and the Crips. And so Michael actually calls his security guy to arrange both groups to meet him. And we saw this in the trailer where Jafar's wearing the Beat It jacket, and he meets his dancers plus members of the rival gangs. And that's where he said is that he believes that music can bring people together. So we see them working on Beat It, and the explosion is there. But again, back to reality. They address a really cool part where John Branca, I believe, is his lawyer, the guy who runs the estate, where he joins Michael for the first time. Michael calls him out, and the funniest thing is he asks Branca his first job as his new representative lawyer, whatever you want to call it, is to fire his father. And so he did. So yeah, that is true. Michael did fire his dad, but it's questionable if the movie got it right or wrong. So Joe Jackson, peace, but he's still living at home and under the claw of Joe Jackson. So Michael is still under his rules and all that. And he respects his family a lot, that he's still trapped under that. We get a part where, again, I kind of knew already. We see the creation of MTV. It just was created. And back in the day, MTV never played African-American artists. They were mostly a rock station and unfortunately played only white performers. And so we do see something that was addressed. I believe it was addressed in one of the documentaries. I think it was in the Bad 25 one, or actually, no, they addressed it on the Thriller 40 anniversary one and in interviews where everybody said it. MTV never played African-American artists, and it was Michael who set the bar. And the president of CBS called MTV and said, look, you got a hot hand here in Michael. Play his videos, play Billie Jean. And the station said no. Again, he was an African-American artist, not their thing. And the president of CBS in real life threatened to pull all the artists under CBS from MTV, which were a lot. He named almost all of them, I think. Big names. This is 1983, 84. And so he threatened to remove them. But MTV was like, whoa, we can't have that. So then they started playing Billie Jean. Record sales exploded a little bit more. All right. And then we go to what I was looking forward to, and what I believe this was the second trailer of the movie, is the historic Motown 25. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I believe it was called. The famous night where Michael reunited with his brothers, including Jermaine. They did the Jackson 5 medley. You can check it out on YouTube. Just put in Motown 25, the Jacksons, and their performances there. The brothers don't perform because we go straight into the legendary performance of Michael performing Billie Jean live at that concert. And again, after that, Thriller exploded even more. And he was literally on top of the world after that. No one could touch him. We see the debut of the moonwalk. Jafar nailed the moonwalk. Performance was great. But then again, Joe Jackson sneaks in again. And we see it where, again, there is a channel called, oh man, I forgot, The Detail. Yes, check them out. Just type in The Detail Michael Jackson. So shout out to that channel, The Detail. They've got into this. They talk about the Victory Tour. We've reached the Victory Tour now. And the hell craziness that the tour was. The Detail goes into it, no pun intended, in detail. And they explain it really great. And the movie just shows it again, where Don King enters the picture because Joe Jackson invites him in. Here they said Joe Jackson invited him in. And so already they are scheming a plan. And basically Don King's like, I don't want to do anything with you unless Michael's involved. And Joe's like, yeah, Michael will be involved. Already going over Michael's head because Michael, again, wants to go solo. And speaking of, I said earlier, there are some scenes where Jafar literally morphs into Michael. There's a scene where Michael's with his mom. He always now and then will watch TV with his mom at night, where she went to bed. He stayed up to finish watching the movie. He's going to his room, and guess who's in his room? Yes, Joseph is in his room waiting for him. And that right there was the beginning where literally Jafar was Michael. Because throughout the entire movie, 99% of the times when Joseph would talk to Michael, he wouldn't look him in the eyes. And I think in the Oprah interview, he said he was always crazy scared of his father. And so this just confirmed it. And so there's the part. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, when Michael's going to his room after hanging out with his mom, and when he opens the door, Joseph is there. I don't know if it was the lighting because it was low, or the angle of the camera. Goodbye, Jafar. Hello, Michael. And I lost my shizzle when that scene happened, because I was sitting there going like, that's not Jafar, that's Michael. And again, Joseph is bringing him down, telling him basically, you think you're all lit. You thought you were going to break these records with Thriller. No, I knew you were going to do it. And again, it's just verbal abuse. And then he basically says, you're going on tour. And so again, The Detail, shout out to them and that channel, go into the whole history of the Victory Tour. And it was hell to begin with. They don't address that. It just goes straight into the tour. Or do they? No, they do. But the detail explains the details of the tour and how it was from beginning. It just seemed like it wasn't going to work. So check them out. The detail, Michael Jackson, put it on the search bar after you watch this. So we're moving on. We're getting closer. And of course, what's addressed? Yes, we see the Pepsi incident. So what I liked about this one is if anybody of y'all out there saw the Jackson's American Family miniseries years ago, I believe it was Jackson's American Family miniseries on ABC or NBC, one of the others. This is like the mid 90s, I think. First of all, phenomenal series. I enjoyed it. It was at the time the best resource you had to learn more about Michael and his family. Now you have that. You have MJ the Musical. Shout out to them. If you're ever on Broadway, I highly recommend MJ the Musical. I saw it. It was chef's kiss. That was a good source material. And then now the movie addresses it. But now when it comes to the Pepsi incident, the Jackson's American Dream, in it, they had the actor again, whose name is Caseman. He has unfortunately passed away. God rest his soul, but he did a great job as Michael. In that miniseries, when it came to the Pepsi incident, his hair caught on fire and he rolled down the stairs. And that wasn't it, because again, on YouTube, and again, shout out to the detail, they have the Pepsi incident there. If you just do a search on YouTube, Michael Jackson Pepsi accident, what happened was, from the story is the pyros went off too early because the pyros were supposed to go on when he went down the stairs. They did a take before and he's going down the stairs and the pyros shoot off. What happened was with the incident, it was one more take they were going to do, but the pyros went off prematurely before Michael went down the stairs. So while he's still on top of the stairs, pyros goes off and a little flame hits the very tippy top of his hair. As he's going down the stairs, that's when he notices his hair's on fire. When Michael gets to the bottom of the stairs, he spins to put it away, but then he collapses on the floor. The movie did a great job on showing how it was. So if you compare the real incident versus the movie, they were almost identical. They rushed Michael to the hospital. The doctor tells the family like he is scarred, basically scarred for life. The fire hit his nerves. He could have died because the fire could have hit his clothes, could have gone into his face. It could have been worse, is what I'm saying. That was always the case from when it happened to everybody documenting about it. But again, we see the horrible side of Joe. And the first thing he asks is like, so when's he going to recover? It's like, your son just got burnt. He's in the ICU. It's going to be a while. So we keep seeing that. And now the movie takes a big chunk here where you see Michael in the hospital. What he did in real life was he donated the money from the accident to the hospital, to the children's burn unit. And the movie addresses that. Michael says, like, let's do it. So yeah, good guy, good philanthropist, Michael Jackson right there. And so we're heading now towards the Victory Tour. And again, this is another thing people were complaining about. Oh, they should have showed Michael go in real life. Michael held a press conference because the ticket system. So trying to make a long story short. So what you did for to get tickets for the Victory Tour, you had to pay a fee to enter a raffle. And then if you got chosen, because you were picked randomly. This is, I guess, before Ticketmaster, I'm assuming. So you paid X amount of dollars to enter a raffle. And then when you were if you were chosen, you then were limited to 4 tickets only. I believe they were $30 each, which again, if you told me in 2026, hey, go see a concert for only $30, I'd be like, yo, give me like 1,000 tickets. Long story short, I cover wrestling on my channel, for those of you in case you can't tell. And I spoke about the insane ticket prices for WrestleMania this past year. Second row tickets were $17,000. Yes. And now the Jackson's Victory Tour tickets were only $30. Like, oh wow, just 1980s versus 2026, folks. Big difference. So what happened was you pay a fee to enter a lottery system, and if you were chosen, you were only I don't know if it was like you were only allowed to buy 4 or you had to buy 4, and you were not able to choose the day. So let's say they came here to Jersey and East Rutherford, Old Giant Stadium. They did, I think it was 4 nights. The ticket people would be like, all right, you won the raffle, but you can only pick for Friday, August 17th. What if A, I couldn't afford 4 tickets, and B, what if I couldn't go that day? That's how it was. It was insane. People were complaining. Again, this is pre social media, pre email, internet, and all that. People were angry. Michael was aware of it when a little girl in Kansas City, I believe that was the first stop. Again, in the movie, you see it. Michael did read his fans' letters. Google it, kid. A piece of paper, and you write on it, and you put it in an envelope with a stamp, and then you send it. Yeah, that's what a letter is. Fan mail letter. A little girl complained. She's like, I wanted to see your long story short, she's like, I wanted to see your concert, but I can't afford tickets. And that's when Michael said, he put the kibosh on the whole ticket thing, because he's like, I want my fans to see the concert. And so the whole lottery thing ended, and they just sold tickets, I guess, at the box office. And from what I'm told, again, shout out to the detail, the little girl met Mike. I don't know if he met her, but she went to the concert and she was given gifts from Michael. Again, I don't know if they met, but she got a Jackson's victory jacket. I think the tickets, she got comp tickets with her and her family, but she was there. And again, I don't know if they met, if Michael met her. Again, we don't see that. And again, I understand only 2 hours. They didn't need to go into that. It has nothing to do with Michael's life. Yes, he held the press conference to put the kibosh on the ticket sales system. That was all bleh. But again, not important. So we go into the tour. And again, Michael wanted to be on his own. And he chose, and this happened in real life, he chose that to say goodbye to the Jackson family touring wise. So the last day was, and you see it in the trailer, the camera hovering over the LA stadium, and you see it. It's the last day of the concert in LA Dodger Stadium. And again, this is when it's the movie versus real life. In the movie, they sang, according to the movie, the last song they sang on the tour was Working Day and Night. In real life, it was Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. Again, little things. I'm the nerd guy who realizes these things, so whatever. And Michael thanks everybody. He thanks the band, his brothers, and then he thanks the fans. And he's like, listen up. It's been a great 20 years. This is the final tour, our victory tour, our farewell tour. You've been great. And he basically said goodbye. And according, again, to the detail and other resources that I've checked, the brothers were caught blindsided of this, and especially Joseph, because in real life, before even the tour started, Joseph was on the press going, yeah, this is going to be a world tour, because he promised Don King, even though by this point Don King was gone, he was already promoting it as a world tour. Like, they were going to start in America and then go to Europe, Asia, all over the world. And so, again, I cannot confirm or deny if this happened, but in real life, when Michael said goodbye, he had the family come up there, which I'll address in a bit. And then you see him run off stage and the concert ends. In the movie, he walks off by himself and he basically literally walks away. And then again, we now move forward to how the movie ends with the trailer that you all saw. The movie ends in 1988 with the Bad Tour. They go to the, I don't know, I cannot confirm or deny where the Bad Tour started. I think it was Japan, from things I've been checking out. Here we see him in Wembley, and he performs Bad. And what I just learned right before going on right now live is that Jafar himself sang Bad at the end of the movie, and fooled me because I thought that was Michael. That was him lip syncing to his uncle. Nope. Jafar sang Bad, and he sounded just like Michael. And so the movie ends, I don't want to say in a cliffhanger, but it kind of leaves you it wants you leaving more. So again, back to the people. I don't know if it's the regular, like these official movie critics, or just people complaining. Again, there's a lot of things that, yes, they could have put in the movie, but they were limited. If you want to tell the entire Michael story from like his conception to his death, if you will, it would have to be a series. It would have to be a documentary series, not a movie. And it would probably be as big as long as the MCU, from Iron Man to Endgame. That would have to be the Michael Jackson story. You want everything about his life in movies? Then you do that. You do 20, I think it was 20 movies from Iron Man to to Endgame. That's what you do with Michael then. You make 20 movies, which would be insane, even though the big MJ Mark here would love it. It's like, oh, okay, I don't know if I would watch them all. Maybe in streaming, but not in I don't know, maybe in the theaters. Not I didn't go to all MCU movies, but would that be too much? I don't know, but you can't do that unless that is your plan. Again, shout out to Marvel. They had the Kevin Feige, that's SOB, I call him, with the man with the plan. He's like, we're gonna tell the whole MCU story, but we're gonna take our time with movies. You can't do that with an artist with a biopic, because again, 1 or 2 or 3 movies are fine, but to tell his entire story, you'd have to do 20 movies, and that's not gonna happen. No, they're gonna be like, no, one's good. Again, I spoke about other biopics that we talk about: La Bamba, Ray, Selena, Bohemian Rhapsody, and now Michael. They have a limited time. Sources, they go with the script that, like, okay, this, we can tell the stories, and not that you want everything to be happy, but you want to tell the good side of the stories. Now, in the case of La Bamba and Selena, I get it. They had a sad, tragic end to their story, literally. Again, Richie Valens in the plane crash with the Big Bopper and, oh my gosh, Peggy Sue Singer. Richie Valens, the Big Bopper. Yeah, I'm blanking. We're live, baby. I forgot his name. Buddy Holly. There we go. Buddy Holly. The tragic plane crash that they had ended, unfortunately, Richie Valens' life. Selena, the crazy her manager girl chick lady who's still in jail and let her rot in jail forever and ever. I'm happy that she's there. Selena's life was ended tragically. Again, if you saw Ray, it was Jamie Foxx did a fantastic job, but I'm sure they didn't put everything in there. They didn't. Bohemian Rhapsody, a lot of people were complaining, well, this was wrong, it's Hollywood. They're going to change it to not necessarily make it better. They're just going to change it, period, because they want a script that they think, all right, this is a good way to tell the story. They stayed away from maybe the harshest stuff, but to tell a good story. A lot of people have been accusing Michael of being a fluff piece because of his craziness of who he is. I don't think it's a fluff piece. It's just a story of him. I mean, there are people who are upset. So for those who don't know, the movie originally was going to end with the first allegations in the early 90s. That's how the movie was going to end. I don't know how it was going to end, but that was the actual final act of addressing the allegations, the first allegations. But due to some clause in the settlement, they weren't allowed to show it, so they had to reshoot the ending, and that's when they changed their minds for the ending. So on that note, all right, they changed the ending. That's fine. I like how they ended it. But why people are upset that, oh, we didn't see the molestation cases, we didn't see that part, we didn't see the trial, we didn't see the accusation. Why would you want to see that? I mean, even in Bohemian Rhapsody, they address Freddie getting AIDS, but we don't see him. Like, was anybody angry? Like, oh, we didn't see when, or how Freddie got it. Was anybody complaining? Any of you critics out there all angry? Like, well, we didn't see Freddie get AIDS. Is someone clamoring for that? Is someone clamoring to see the allegations, to see, like, I believe it was Man in the Mirror, that VH1, I think it was VH1 who made it, that horrible bio series of his. You see him interact with the kid, and then you see the first trial, but that's about it. I didn't want, and when they said, oh, we're not going to, they can't legally do it, like, all right, cool. Like, who is sitting back and going like, no, I want to see the child molestation? That's disturbing, bro. I get it. It's part of unfortunately, it's part of Michael's story, but I'm not clamoring to see that again. And again, I don't think it was a fluff piece. The movie did what they did, and they showed us as much as they could. And again, if you want the entire Michael saga, it has to be that. A saga has to be, like I said, the MCU, 20 movies to tell his very complicated life. And so, again, if you're hankering for maybe a deeper dive of them, I would recommend the Jackson's American Dream miniseries. It was, I believe, 5 to 7 nights. I saw each one of them every night. That one goes into more detail, but that documentary series goes into the family. Clearly, this was Michael's biopic, so we're going to focus on Michael. But we're not focusing on Michael as some people, and especially the critics out there, going, wow, they didn't address this and address this, so the movie sucks. And I think some of them said that for Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, they did this, so Bohemian Rhapsody sucks. So if you go back and on Rotten Tomatoes, I can't believe I'm talking about them, but I said 5 stars and I gave my opinion on there, so I'm in the description somewhere. Like I think it has a 39% rating with critics, but it has like a 67,000% rating with the fans. It's like, I don't know what these movie critics are looking for. Like, the movie wasn't bad. The acting was great. Of course, the music is the music. And I think they told the story the best they could. Again, would I have liked to seen the molestation? No, but I figured, all right, if they're going to go into it, they're going to go into it respectfully and not so harsh or anything like that. And critics are just losing their mind because of that. Like, oh, they didn't have this, didn't have that. Well, again, 2 hours. And I know Bohemian Rhapsody got dogged by critics as well, but the fans loved it. I loved it too. I saw it on streaming. Couldn't get to the theater to see it. And I thought it was great. The 4 guys looked just like Queen, but they nailed the acting and the story. Again, the little story that I actually do know about the Queen, about the band, I saw it on the theater, and I contacted my friends who were diehard Queen fans, and I said, what did you think? And if diehard Queen fans loved Bohemian Rhapsody, that's all that matters to me. And now I can jump in with them as a diehard Michael fan. I loved Michael. I thought it was great. How much will the movie make? Well, maybe after this video, I'll look up. I think the early numbers are 200 million worldwide. So sequel. On that note, the movie ends with, like I said, in the trailer, you see him performing Bad. We just stopped at the beginning of the Bad tour. There is the rest of the Bad tour. What else? So fantasy booking, like the wrestling fan that I am. So what could be in the sequel? First of all, how many sequels? I say just one sequel would be pretty good. Again, another 2 hours. And so shout out to Dave Scheffler. Dave says real fast here, agreed. Bohemian Rhapsody was a good movie and portrayal, as he corrected himself. So I'll make sure that, there you go, Dave. Again, Dave, you're the best. Thank you so much for attending. Yeah, he's right. Bohemian Rhapsody was really good. Again, if you you can go in there blinded and you'll learn a lot of stuff. But again, Hollywood is not necessarily Hollywood, but the scriptwriters are going to give us probably the best that they can. And again, the big question that I noticed a lot of critics saying, should biopics be very technical? The answer is, it depends. You could go very technical, or you can just go, all right, how about instead of this way, we let's say, like I said, that they focus on his relationship with his family, especially his father. We saw some horrible physical harm that he did, but they kept it low, which was fine. And then as an adult, it became verbal abuse. That's fine. Again, Michael's been on the record, Oprah and Martin, whatever his last name is, saying that Joseph was. So, all right, I believe if Michael says he was, I believe that he was. I don't need 48% of the movie be Joseph being physically and emotionally and verbally abusive to Michael. I don't need to see it. Because we know, in Michael's case, we know that's how he was. Again, back to Bohemian Rhapsody. We all know, unfortunately, Freddie Mercury got AIDS. Were any critics complaining like we didn't see it? Like, who cares? So being technical, if it's okay if you're not. So again, the critics, oh, they didn't show him meeting Quincy. No, but we see his young adult when we flash forward to the late 70s, it's Quincy Jones and Michael. We know they're talking about Off the Wall. Cool. That's fine. And then we see him talking about with Branca, his lawyer, about the possibility of the next album. And Michael said it. I want it to be the next album. Oh, on that note, if you saw the trailer, yes, they show us the making of Thriller. If you actually saw the making of Thriller, the VHS, Google it, kids, of the making of Thriller. That's the way they worked up to that was awesome. We see it, and again, another side of Jafar, Michael. Hello. I was sitting there and when they did the Thriller dance, like it's Michael. And again, shout out to I cannot stop saying great stuff about Jafar Jackson. He did a phenomenal job as portraying his uncle. I know Michael would be proud. I know his family is proud. So on that note, the family. So what I've been reading was Reby and Janet are not in the movie because apparently they chose not to be in it, so no one could portray him. So the only other sibling we see is Latoya. And I know Latoya was there. She's a big part of his story because they actually moved in together a little bit when they moved to New York in the early mid 70s. They actually shared an apartment, but then Michael went back to Cali. So Latoya was a big part of his family. Janet, she was a baby when the Jackson 5 began, so she jumped in when they did another thing, the Jackson Family variety show, variety hour, whatever you call it, in the 70s. Not addressed in the movie. Cool. Because again, the scriptwriters are probably like, this has nothing to do with Michael at all. So why address it? Dave says, definitely got to pick out the important parts only to touch on Joe's abusing of Michael and the rest of his family. From what I know and remember, he was hard from the beginning, working the kids hard. Yeah, it was, again, Joe's been on, if you want to, again, search for it, he went on Larry King many, many years ago. And Larry King asked that. He's like, were you abusive? And he's like, I wasn't abusive, but I was a disciplinarian. Again, Joe looked at it as disciplinarian. People can be like abusive. Now, did parents spank their kids back in the day? Yeah, they did. I did. And all right, I think I grew up to be okay. I got things. And as a Hispanic, to all my Latinos out there watching, what did we get? La chancla. Yeah, I got the belt too, the wooden spoon. I got everything but the TV, the big box TV thrown at me. No, I didn't. I was disciplined, but I wasn't disciplined because I was just destroyed by all this stuff. No, I got disciplined because I was probably misbehaving. But people would see now, be like, well, because Michael or any of the boys did this. And again, in the Jackson's family miniseries, you see they interpret that a lot. Joe abusing the kids, but he's abusing them because they missed a step. In Tito's case, Tito would always mess around with Joe's guitar, and his mom warned him, like, be careful, don't break it. One day he broke a string. Tito confessed, and he would spank him. They would go outside to get a branch from a tree, and then that's how he would spank him. But again, though, this movie was based on Michael, so we see Michael's abusiveness from his father. Again, Joe called it keeping his kids out from the streets, from drugs, from gangs. Okay, that's his thing. But again, in other words, we all know what happened in Michael's life. And again, we see that a lot in the movie. And again, mad props to the movie makers for showing us this. So the movie basically was Michael's relationship with his family, especially his dad, and his loneliness. And it's there's a scene where he wants to hang out with his brothers, but by then the brothers are all older than him. They're gone. And he's lonely. It's just him and basically Bubbles and all that. We got Jenny in the chat. Jenny says, parents today at all about gentle parenting. They want to be their kids' friends. Absolutely. Again, your kid, I don't have any kids, but common sense and logic says my kid's misbehaving. You discipline them. Again, there is a line to not cross to get to, like, you can discipline them, smack them. You're the parent, though. Again, don't be abusive. Don't wail on the kid. Don't get a sword or something, but discipline your kids. Unfortunately, we have the world versus Joseph. Joseph was disciplining them because he wanted to, again, keep them away from gangs in the streets and all that. So again, nothing wrong with that. But when they were, and then again, Michael would say this and some of the brothers would, when they would mess up in rehearsal, that's when Joseph would, in his eyes, discipline him. So I get it. Like, all right, so Michael messed up on a song and he would discipline him by spanking him. All right, that I don't think is right. If he was being crazy, again, in the Jackson, the mini series of the early 90s, Michael was a little rowdy kid, but he was 8 years old, 7 years old. He was misbehaving. All right, cool. I get it there. But if he's dancing and he's rehearsing and he screws up, and it's like Joseph had that intimidation factor. He had the belt, he had a whip or whatever, and He had a shoe. There's a scene in the Jackson 5 part of the movie where they're rehearsing and Joe is literally sitting there with a shoe. It's like, dude, I get it. You want your kids to be successful, but I don't think this is the way to go. Again, personal opinion. So everybody, the world and Joseph have different definitions on disciplining their kids. But clearly that affected Michael his entire life. And we see it. And again, that big scene where Joseph's in the bedroom with Michael. And again, goodbye, Jafar. Hello, Michael. Jafar nailed, like, you read Michael, or in this case, Jafar, you read him with his eyes, the way he acts. Like Michael wants to do something, but he's just fearful. And but that fear was inserted into Michael when he was a baby, basically a kid. I believe he was 6 or 7 years old when he won that school contest. And then they put him in the Jacksons, and then the intimidation factor, that grip that Joseph had on Michael started then, and he couldn't escape it. All the fame that he had, in one part of the movie, Joe challenges Michael, like, you think you're better than your brothers? You think you're better than me? Because Joseph always thought in his brain, the only reason anyone, especially Michael, was successful was because of him. He kept, and again, we see this in the docuseries, in the Jackson's American Family series, and you see it here, where he's on top of it, like, no, this is happening because of me. I busted my A at that steel mill. I'm the reason I made you made Thriller the #1 album because I gave you permission to go. Joseph thought it was all about him, but it wasn't. The family needed to expand. And again, you can talk about, and back to the other members of the family. So Janet was missing, Reby was missing, because I think they just didn't want to be portrayed in the movie. So no actress there. So again, you only see LaToya, but LaToya was around Michael a lot, especially in the 70s and 80s. So she is in the movie, and the actress who played LaToya, wow, just looks just like her as well. So again, the movie, whoever casted the movie, props to you, thumbs up to you, a round of applause to you, everybody. Again, when it came to Bohemian Rhapsody, the four actors who played the band, wow, literally they're twins. It was them, their mirror image. But Jafar, even though he wasn't a mirror image of Michael, he did a phenomenal job. The dancing, to the singing, to the acting, to the loneliness. There are parts where Michael, like, he is bashful. That's how he was. I remember watching on YouTube interviews of Michael in the 70s, and just, I saw the interview and then I see the movie. It's like Jafar just nailed it. He did a fantastic job. And again, the songs were great. Seeing the videos being made was cool. Again, another thing people are upset about at Motown 25. Well, where was the medley with his brothers? Who cares? It wasn't about, I don't want to say it wasn't about his brothers, but it was about Billie Jean. And then it was like, oh, well, they should have shown, again, you see it in the docuseries, not in the movie. Long story short, Berry Gordy basically had to beg Michael to perform. Michael didn't want to perform. He just wanted to go. But according to the docuseries, Michael agreed to be on the show, to reunite with his brothers, to sing with his brothers, including Jermaine, only if he can have a solo spot. And he performed Billie Jean. Now, the interesting part of all that is Billie Jean was not a Motown song. He was already with CBS Records, Epic. He was with Epic Records at the time. That's what released Off the Wall and Thriller. Because, again, if you know the story, the Jackson 5 were in Motown. They wanted more creative freedom. The label said no, so Joseph got them out. They signed with CBS through their Epic label. They left Motown. Jermaine stayed because he married Berry Gordy's daughter back then. So now Randy joined the Jacksons, and they became the Jacksons with Epic. And so when they reunited for Motown 25, it was the original Jackson 5 and then Randy. So there was a Jackson 5 plus one that did the Motown 25 little medley, which was cool. But then he performed Billie Jean, again, a non-Motown song. And that was the deal breaker. Michael would agree to do the show if he would sing Billie Jean. And so he did it. And it was the concert that we know. And again, just real fast, since it will be 25 years later, again, check out my previous videos. I spoke about the concert in 2001. That was the last and final time we saw Michael and his brothers perform, all 6 brothers united on one stage. And I cannot tell you how phenomenal that was. Hearing they started with Can You Feel It? They went into the Jackson 5 medley. I Want You Back, ABC, I Want You Back, I'll Be There, Dancing Machine. And then they ended it with Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. And then seeing Michael perform solo was awesome. And yes, he did. Of course, he did. Every artist has that song that they have to do. So I believe Elvis was Groundhog. He has to do Groundhog. Prince, I think, has to do Purple Rain. I believe so. Madonna has to do Like a Virgin. Michael, his song was Billie Jean. And it's what he was already on fire with Thriller, but doing Motown 25, doing the performance with the jacket and the glove and the hat and then the moonwalk, Billie Jean is what brought him up to the atmosphere, to the stratosphere, and ruled the world and has ruled it since then. So again, what these critics are looking for, I have no idea why they're complaining. It's not a fluff piece. It really isn't. I saw one reader saying, oh, we should avoid this because they don't address the allegations. First of all, not to get political, but it's from an independent liberal news source, so whatever, haters are going to hate. Again, I understand, complicated life, say what you want about his extracurricular activities, say whatever you want with it. You can believe them. You cannot believe them personally. I think both cases, again, just my opinion, they were looking for a cash grab. The first one, again, I'm not a parent, but if my kid says whoever this person was sexually molested me, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that person goes to jail forever. I am not going to settle. Like, no. I believe my kid. If my kid tells a story and if there is physical evidence, because allegedly, according to the father of the first kid that sued him, if they had, you can be like, well, Michael had money, he could hire lawyers. Yeah, but it's in the end of the day, the court's going to do it. So, but if you had evidence, if you knew like this guy physically abused my kid, I'm taking his behind to court to make sure this guy gets locked away because he abused my kid. But what this guy does, again, according to reports I've been reading, what this guy kept doing was, so how it works is before you go to trial, there is a settlement phase because then the person has to accept it or not. And if they don't, they go to trial. If they do accept it, they accept it. This guy kept delaying the trial because he kept upping the settlement price. So Mike was like, all right, you want this? And he went, no, I want this now. And then I think you have 30 days or so to accept it or give your counteroffer. So Michael and his team would reunite. He hired Johnny Cochran, and the guy kept raising his price where finally Michael had enough. He's like, this needs to go away. And the only way he was told that it would go away is to finally settle it out of court, pay the guy whatever he asked for, and it'll go away. Of course, it didn't. It haunted him for the rest of his life because that's how the media is. Because if you settle, you're guilty, according to the crazy media that we live in, even in today's 2026, which is probably worse than it was in 1991, 2, 3, 4, around there when allegations happened. So he settled. But they made a press conference like, this is not an admission of guilt. It's like, this is what the family asked for. It's like, oh, so your kid's story or his version of events only I forgot how, I think it was 25 million Michael paid. Like, really? That's how much your kid's abusive relationship with this Hollywood megastar is only worth 25 mil? Okay. Again, I would have taken his butt to court. Make sure this guy physically abused my kid. He's out of here. Didn't. Then the second one, long story short, from a member from the trial, was that family was known to go to like charitable cases and be abusive to them to steal money. And they did go to trial. If anybody remembers, they went to trial. And I remember seeing reports of the jurors talking about it. And they're like, the mom blew it for him. It's like the mom was all confident. She was cocky. She would wink at the jury. It's like, lady, your son is saying this guy was sexually abused by this man, and you're all like happy because she probably thought, oh, we got this in the bank. And guess what? He was found not guilty 10 times. And so there you go. So now back to the big questions. Sequel. I believe will be a sequel because this movie's going to make money, y'all. This is what it's all about. Again, I spoke about Power Rangers in my other videos. Shout out to my boy Gino. We spoke about Power Rangers. As Power Ranger fans, we were dying to see a sequel because they gave us the ultimate tease of Tommy at the end in the mid-credit scenes. It's like, oh, we're going to get Tommy. But the movie didn't make it made its money back, but it didn't make a profit. And so hence no sequel. Okay. This movie is going to have a sequel. Now, what would I like to see in the sequel, or what I think will be in the sequel? All right, let's run down real fast. Well, the movie ends with the bad tour. So maybe we see the acquisition of the Beatles catalog. That was another nutshell, which again, a bad story. Long story short, Paul McCartney tells Michael to get into music publishing. He does, but he buys the Beatles. There's that. So that's the end of the 80s. Now we get to the 90s, the creation of Dangerous. Sure. We saw Off the Wall and Thriller. Why not the creation of Dangerous, the new Jack Swing? It'd be cool if they got a Michael Jordan actor, seeing them create Jam together. That would be cool. It'd be cool if they get someone to play Macaulay Culkin, if Macaulay Culkin gives his permission for his likeness. There you go. The Dangerous tour, sure. That was one of his biggest tours that he did as well, besides Bad. The musical MJ addresses it. That's what if you've never seen the MJ musical at all, that's what it's all about. It starts in 1991, I believe, and it goes to the first night of the Dangerous tour. Shout out to the MJ musical. It was phenomenal. Again, they can't legally talk about the first allegations. I don't know what the deal is with the second one, but all right. So if we jump that, obviously history was big. Do they talk about the marriage of Michael to Lisa Marie Presley? Sure, why not? His health scare in December 95 when he was set to perform in New York. We had the health scare. Blood on the dance floor, yeah, you could talk about it, but I don't think they should really focus on it. The stories of him trying to open a theme park. Besides, speaking of, maybe we see Neverland finally there. Cool, Neverland will be there. Obviously, I mentioned history in there, and again, maybe the 2001 concert. They show that, and again, I don't know if they legally can talk about the second molestation trial accusation. So there's that too. Shout out again, once again, to Dave. Dave says it's too bad what happened between him and Paul McCartney, as they had a great collaboration and video with Say, Say, Say. Yeah. And we don't see him talking about it in The Girl Is Mine and Thriller, but they first start off with Say, 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 and then The Girl Is Mine. So maybe they do address it, that riff in the relationship, because we didn't see Paul here, even though we saw the making of Thriller, putting it together, let's call it. So yeah, again, that was a big part in Michael's story, getting the catalog, because he owned like 90% of the music out there. So again, will we see the fallout with him and Sony? That happened later in his career. That happened around 2001 when he felt that they were pushing Invincible. Invincible came out in 2001. And again, will we see the MSG concert? I hope so. That'd be cool. It's like, I'm up there. I'm somewhere up there. Hollywood, hire me to play me in the movie. I'll gladly do there. So you got Jenny again. Jenny says there has to be a sequel. There's so much skipped, not discussed. Yeah, so it would be things going forward where they can show it. And again, there's so much that can be done. They can actually start again at the Bad tour and go forward. Again, some important keynotes I think that they should mention in the sequel is the creation of Neverland, Michael buying the property and inviting the kids over. Maybe they do the Oprah interview. That was, I don't know, necessarily something positive, but that was something nice that Michael was actually starting to appear in public. So address that. Again, can't talk about the molestations. Do the creation of Dangerous, of history, the History World Tour. Again, maybe the marriage to Lisa. We see background stuff of that. Who knows? Again, legally, I don't know what they can and can't talk about. And again, maybe it ends in a positive note, obviously, if they address his death, but maybe it ends in a better positive note with the birth of his kids, Paris, Prince, Paris, and Blanket. Maybe that's how the second sequel ends. But and if that's the only part they do, maybe they just kind of leave us hanging that we know how this ends, how this unfortunate story ends. Shout out again to Dave. Dave says, from what you've said, there definitely needs to be at least one more sequel. Just too much. Exactly. And in his short 50 years, yeah, Michael was only 50. And so I think 2 movies would be great. This Michael, let's call it Michael 1, was great. And the sequel would, like I said, I just mentioned some important things that to touch upon. And obviously things that hopefully the writers of the script will be like, all right, we know the audience will like this. We know they'll get this, because maybe the acquisition of the catalog is not important, but maybe they show the rift between him and Paul, because we all know about it, but will we see it is the question. So again, to all the critics out there, calm your horses down, really. A biopic will show you what the writers and the director and the families or the estate of said actor wants you to see. And just because you see the movie and it didn't address this or didn't show that, it didn't suck, or the movie is horrible, or it's a fluff piece. No, that is your personal opinion. The thing with critics is that's the thing. Either they're ready to destroy a movie, or they want to, oh, the movie is called this. Oh, I, meaning the critic, want to see this. And if this is not in there, well, 2 thumbs down. That's what I hate. Critics should not go in there with their own personal feelings. Go do what you are, I'm assuming, getting paid to do. Critique the movie. Like Escape from Earth, I think it is, with John Travolta or whatever. That movie is god-awful. Now, I don't think there's a critic out there that's a science fiction buff that has, all the posters of the book, because I think it was a book. And then when he saw the movie, I don't think he went, this is the greatest movie in the history of the world. No, that's unfair. I went into the theater, again, I put my Michael Markism, that's a word I created, to the side, and I went, let me just judge this as a movie. Just like I go into wrestling pay-per-views or PLEs, whatever you want to call it. The answer when the show is over, I ask myself is, was I entertained by the wrestling of the show? And if the answer is yes, overall, then it was a good show. A movie, the same thing. Was I entertained from this movie? Yes, I was. So again, Michael, putting my fandom and Markism away for the second time. When I went the first night, I was focused. I was back in the 90s where I'm watching as a fan going like, this is Michael Jackson movie. This is phenomenal. This is great. And then I sat back and I saw the movie. When I went last night, I went, all right, I got the fan stuff out of the way. Now let me focus on the actual movie. Same feeling I got the first night. It was great. I think I even enjoyed it more the second time because I was actually paying attention. I was just trying to see, did I miss any Easter eggs out there? Was there anything out there? Did Tony Stark come back? No, I was just focused on the movie itself. So overall, 2 viewings, both great. The first time, the second time, excited for the third. How many more after the third? I don't know. I know I said I was going to try to beat my record. The record is 5 times watching Power Rangers 2017 in the theater. Second place is Captain America Civil War, tied with Home Alone 3. Looks like Michael's going to tie it at 3. I don't know. We'll see. If I happen to find like free tickets or major discounts, I'll go see it one more time or possibly 2. Probably tie the record at 5. But again, to all the critics out there, calm all your horses. The movie is very, very good. Go for the movie. Go for the music. Go for the story that was told really, really, really good. Are there things missing? Yes, but they only had 2 hours. So in 2 hours, they gave us the best, that what they thought was the best they could do. And I think it was great. They gave us good stuff. I can't complain that, oh, they didn't have this. Oh, they didn't have it. I can't complain because it's like, this is what they felt was important. This is what they felt they needed to show, and they showed it, and they did a great job on it. So to answer the question, was I entertained? Absolutely, I was. Can't wait till this comes on streaming so I could watch it maybe every day once it's streaming. I will support the movie once it comes on DVD, Blu-ray. We'll buy it. If they have a special box edition, I'll try to get it. Like I did with the Power Rangers. I bought the regular Blu-ray DVD combo, and then I bought I believe the Target exclusive one with the metal case. I want to support this movie. I want a sequel. It'll come out in 2-3 years. That's fine. But I'm hoping for a sequel for this. And again, if you want more Michael, I recommend the Detail channel here on YouTube. Go back either on YouTube or anywhere else. Look up the Jacksons American Family, the miniseries from years ago. Great source. If you love Broadway, go to see the MJ musical. It was phenomenal. The actor did great. Word was that they were looking to hire the guy that plays Michael in Broadway to play him in the movie, but I don't know if he auditioned and Jafar got it. So for the record, before people start complaining, oh, Jafar was just given the role because he was Michael's nephew. No, it was a 2-year audition, according to Jafar. And he auditioned just like everybody else, and he got it. But the blood is there. Jafar, I tip my hat to you, sir. My hat is on the floor because I threw it when the video began. But I tip my hat to them. Overall, Oofman Entertainment gives this movie 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Go watch it. If you are a fan of Michael, if you are a fan of his music, if you are just a fan of good documentary movies, biopics, whatever you want to call them, you will enjoy it. Again, go in there don't go in there like, I didn't go in there going like, oh, I hope I show this or this. No, I went in there going like, all right, what you got, movie? And I enjoyed it. Expectations were just like, well, the trailer is not that they gave a lot. The trailers, I saw what I wanted to see. Oh, they teased us with a part of the Motown 25. That's what I wanted to see. Like, that was what made me an ultimate Michael fan. I saw it many years later, obviously, but that's what cemented my fandom with him. So I left happy. I left satisfied. I left entertained. And like I said, going to see it one more time, possibly more. I don't know. But if you like documentaries, if you like good movies, you want to be entertained, you like good music, good acting, and of course, the ultimate one, if you are a Michael fan, please go check this out. I know you will like it. Wow. So I went over an hour. I tried to keep it under an hour, so I apologize for going over an hour. But thank you so much for everybody who watched on live and anybody who's going to watch this on stream. Thank you so much. Again, check out my other videos. Like I said, I did my personal top 10 Michael Jackson songs of Oofman Entertainment. You can probably guess what number 1 is already. So go check that out. The video right after that one is talking about 25 years later, this year, the concert at Madison Square Garden for Michael's 30th anniversary. Check that out. Check out all my other videos. Again, for everybody who's here in the chat during the live edition, I cannot thank you enough. Anybody watching on demand, thank you again. More videos coming. And again, this was episode 20 live edition. Maybe I didn't do 10, but maybe the next every 10th I will go live or now and then. So just to give you a big warning or preview what's next, big projects coming up. I'm going to go back on wrestling a little bit, but I'm going to talk about music as well. The Beatles are celebrating some big anniversaries now in these couple of days. So I would like to talk about the Beatles, catalog them. Speaking of the Beatles, talking about them here. The next big wrestling project I have is it's been 30 years. Next month, it'll be 30 years since Scott Hall walked down the stairs into WCW Nitro, and I thought he was Razor Ramon, and he entered the ring and he declared war to WCW, which led us to July of 1996, the formation of the NWO for life, when Hogan shocked the world and became a heel. That's the next big wrestling project. But more videos, I promise you, will be on my channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button on this video. Hit the bell notification to get your notifications of when I make a new video. Subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in, whether, again, live or on demand. Your friendly neighborhood Oofman ain't going nowhere, baby. We're just going to be making more videos as we go on. And one big thing that I am going to start adding is more movie reviews, because there's a bunch of more movies I want to see. I didn't get to watch the Mario Galaxy movie, so I'll wait till probably streaming. I don't know if I'll do a review for that, but the next one in the theaters is definitely Masters of the Universe. I already spoke to a bunch of other friends. Shout out to the No DQ crew who are part of the Major Push Wrestling. Shout out to them as well. The big one is in December, Doomsday. So we're going to do a big collaboration with MCU movies. And again, we're going to focus a lot of more pop culture stuff. And it's just got a lot of things are in my brain to do videos on. And again, we'll do a couple more live editions here and there. So other than that, thank you so much. God bless you. You take care of yourself and everybody around you. And again, long live the King of Pop.